Well, hey, everybody. We are going to be starting here in about 1 minute. So if you got the email that has the Excel training Excel file in it, if you will go in and download that file for yourself, either click edit in browser or you can go on here and hit in file, you can hit save as a copy online. That way we're not all working in the same sheet so that when one of you is making a change and somebody else is trying to make the same change, it doesn't mess it up. So you can just hit file and then save as a copy online. And then it'll bring up a new copy for you. So you should be able to do that. If you're having trouble, just let me know. So we're going to do Excel in 3 different webinars/seminars because there's so much you can do with Excel. There's so many different forms that you can do and formulas and different things that you can do. So this is kind of what are some basic things you can do to help yourself at this point. So I'll be going back and forth from the PowerPoint to the Excel sheet so that we can do it together. Were you guys able to download it on Zoom? Can somebody tell me? I can share it with you in a different format. Can anybody tell me in the chat if you guys were able to get this right here? No? Kelly's got it, so let me send it to you, Greg, and see if that works. Okay, Zuber's got it.
You want us to do?
If you can create a copy for yourself to work in, so you go to File and Save as a Copy Online, so that you guys can work in your own sheets, so that we're not trying to work on top of each other. Okay. Did you get it that time, Greg?
You'll just have to go on. It's asking me to verify my identity, but I don't have my cell phone.
Oh, no.
I'll just watch.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's not much that can be done about it.
I can download a copy to this computer and then I can email it to you real quick. So that way it's not part of Outlook. It's new message.
Did that. Still hitting spam.
Attach this computer. Downloads. There it is. Okay, send it to you. That way. Okay, so the basics of Excel. An Excel file is called a workbook, and then each of the little things underneath it is called a sheet. So this right here is called the ribbon, and it's broken into different tabs so that we can go and do inserting different charts or changing the page layout, things like that. This is the name box, so it tells you which cell you're in. And then this is the formula box right here, which tells you what your formula is for that box. Columns have letters and rows have numbers. That's the best way to remember those. And then the navigation is down here at the bottom where your different sheets are. So if we look at, let's share the whole screen. If we look at this Excel workbook right here, you can see that this is just a blank sheet right here. Now, if you want to sort your data. So at the bottom here, you see that we have several different sheets. So if you'll click on data sort, which is the second sheet down there, we're going to talk about how to sort your data. So there's a couple of ways that you can sort your data. You can do it quickly by clicking on just the A to Z sort and filter, or you can do it more extensively. So when you click on the sort and filter and you sort it ascending, it's just going to do it for that column, and it's just going to put it in ascending order. I don't like to do it this way because sometimes whatever's in these other columns can get messed up. So I always do the sort and filter this way. So if you will select the cell, and then you go into the sort and filter and click on custom sort. And then make sure that it says my data has headers, because we've got those headers at the top. And then I would sort it by region and then by representative. And you can add another column by clicking the add button, and then it can sort it by units. So it's going to select the region first, and then it's going to sort it by the representatives in that region, and then it's going to sort it by the number of units. So if you hit OK, it changes it. So here's the central region, and it's put all of the representatives next to each other, and then it's put the units that they've sold from least to greatest. Okay, so I'm going to have you go in, and you're going to sort the data. First, you're going to sort it by column B, and then you're going to sort it by column C. And make sure that that my data has headers is checked, just so that you can get your own hands on and remember and use that to be able to remember how to do it. So I'm going to give you about 1 minute to do that. Shouldn't take too long. Anybody have a question on how to do that? If you do, you can throw them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, and I'll be happy to answer any of those questions. Okay. So next, I'm going to show you how to add a sheet and rename a sheet. So this little plus button down here is how you add a new sheet, and you just click on that plus button, and it'll add a new sheet. You can drag them anywhere that you would like to have them. And then to rename them, you just right click and click rename. So if you want to create a new sheet and name it whatever your name is, just so that you can get that hands-on practice for how to do that in Excel. So just create your own sheet. You just hit the add button, and then to rename it, you right click on the sheet and do it that way. Okay. So there's a couple of ways that we can look at data to be able to find the things that we need to find quickly. And one of those ways is conditional formatting. So it'll highlight certain portions of the data. And to do that, you create a rule. So to create your rule, because I've got mine squished up like this, I'll have to click on the ellipses. If it's out like this, there's a conditional formatting button that you can click, but I'm going to click on these ellipses. So I'm going to go to this, this one on the bottom here called conditional formatting. And you can see I've got a whole bunch of data in here. And I want to know I'm going to go to conditional formatting and new rule. And I'm going to apply it to the entire range. So I'm going to select the entire range. And I'm going to highlight cells with a cell value that is greater than or equal to, let's say 400. Okay. You can change it to highlight cells. You can have it move them to the top or the bottom. You can even include a formula. You can do it by cell value or specific text, unique values, things like that. You can also do it greater than, less than, all of those different things. And you can format what you want it to look like. So if I don't like red because red looks really scary to me, then I can change it to green or to the yellow. And then you can custom choose your fill colors also. So if I wanted to do orange with this blue, then I could do that. And then you just click done. And as you can see, it's highlighted all these ones that have something greater than 400. Now in this particular sheet, a lot of these have spaces in these blanks, which is going to make it highlight those blanks. If you wanted it to not highlight those blanks, then you could change from cell value to unique values, and or from cell value to specific text, and you can make it say containing or not containing, and put that in there as well. So you guys are going to get to do this. So you're going to highlight your information. You're going to select the conditional formatting, and you're going to choose A through E46, which is down here, so that's the whole range. Select greater than and enter the value of 300. Just so you guys can have experience with how to make these conditional formatting rules. This one you could use this graded color scale. You could use if you were doing grades to see which of your students have the highest grades and which have the lowest, or if there's a particular assignment that they did poorly on. If you are not in the teaching side, this can help you if you're in like admissions, finding out how many of your classes have more than 600 or something like that. Any questions about conditional formatting?
Sorry,
Yeah.
How do you keep it from highlighting?
So ideally, you would have no spaces in these blank ones. The people that I got this from had put blanks, spaces in all of their blanks. So if you choose a different type of formatting, so if you go from highlight cells, and you can have it put specific text, and if you can put containing 400, 500, 600, then it should, it might have to have a comma there. You may have to put in the specific numbers. So just making sure that whatever your data doesn't have these spaces in the blanks. And there's another rule that we can look at to be able to get rid of those. Any questions other than that? Okay, so when you're looking at Excel, it's number formatted. And what you can choose different types of numbers, and this will allow you to make sure that it doesn't like change your number when you put it in there. So there's currency style if you're working with dollars and cents, percentage, there's commas. So like if you're typing in 1,000 and you want it to make sure that it has that comma, you can choose that. And then this one is moving your decimal place up or down. And then you can also choose more options. So in here is your more numbered formats. So in this little box right here, so you can choose short dates, long dates, times, scientific method, text. Let's say that you work with someone from overseas, like that write their dates differently. You can change it so that the date looks like an international date as opposed to the way we do it here in America. And you can change those to be like that, whatever number you're wanting to use. So if this was a percentage, I could change it to a percentage. So like if I did 45%, it knows that it's a percentage. So when you would go in and do like formulas, it would know how to put that number into the formulas like 0.45 instead of 45. Another great tool that we have is called the fill handle. I really like this tool because it makes creating different like columns of information much easier. Oh, gotta love it when it does this. Here. Cool. So the fill handle is this little square in the bottom right corner. And when you drag it down, it will fill in with the next in that series. If you just pull on the first one, it will usually just put whatever's in that first one. But if you have like 100 and 110, and you highlight both of those blocks and pull the fill handle down, it'll then do 120 and 130. It extrapolates what numbers you want next. You can also do that for formulas. So if you have a formula that you've done under one column, you can drag it across and it will take that formula and apply it to the next sets. So on this sheet that you've created down here called whatever your name is, sheet, in A1, type 100, and in the second one, type 101. And then we're going to use the fill handle. So you're going to highlight both those cells. You're going to grab that little square. It's going to make your cursor look different. And we're going to drag it down 5 squares. And you can see that it extrapolated that we wanted 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. In this B1, if you will do 100 and 110 in B1 and B2, and then drag that fill handle down so that you can see that it will extrapolate those numbers as well. And then you just make sure that you've got that little square and drag it down. And it will extrapolate those numbers for you. And the last one you're going to do in that C cell, you're going to do 4/1/2022. So if you click in there, it has already formatted that it's a date. So it can recognize that it's a date. And then if you just pull on that fill handle, it will put in the next several dates for you. I like to use this when I am creating like calendars or any kind of spreadsheet where, like when we do the gate count at the library, we do it by month. And so I can just put that first date in there and just drag it down and it puts all the dates in there for me, which is pretty spectacular. Yes. If you have any questions, does anybody have any questions on how the fill handle works? Okay.
How would you do a formula?
Do what?
Formula?
Oh yeah, I am going to show you how to do formula next. Yeah. But I want to show you how to build an equation before I show you how to do the formula. So you're going to type in the exact cell address that you want the formula to go in. And you're going to hit the equal sign. That's how Excel knows that it wants, that you're wanting it to do some sort of calculation. And then you're going to type in the cell address. So like if I wanted to do A6, then I would type in that cell address. And then whatever your next math operation is. So if I wanted to add, subtract, multiply, whatever it was. So I'm going to add it to B6, and then I'm going to hit enter. And that adds those two together. Now, you can take this right here, and you can drag it across. And now, if you click in here, it's added B6 to C6. Now, since C6 is a weird date, that's why, but if you just had another number over here, like if you had 250, oh, change that back to general or to a number. And then just drag that down. It'll just add 250s to all of that. So if I take this and I were to drag it over, then it's going to add whatever the next two cells are together. So addition is the plus sign is what you use for addition. The hyphen is what you use for subtraction. Multiplication is the asterisk. Division is the slash. And then that cool little caret thing is an exponent. So if you needed to find out, you know, an exponent, you could just use that little caret right there. So you're going to get to do this. So in column A10, you're going to put the number 45. And then in B10, you're going to put 50. And in C10, you're going to put the equal sign. And then you're going to type in A10 and press the plus sign. And then type in B10. Oops, not B210, B10. And then you're going to hit enter. And what answer do you get? Because I'm not going to hit. That's giving the answer. So if you're following it along at home, what answer did you get there in C10? Exactly, 95, because it just adds the two together. Now, if you don't want to do all of that typing, because that's ridiculous, you can take your cells, and instead of typing it in, you can just click on the cell and then put your addition button and then click on the next cell and then hit enter, and it will do the same thing. It's a lot easier sometimes that way. Or if you have like a bunch of numbers that you're wanting to add together, so you want to take all of A plus all of B, it will give you those numbers. So that's all of A plus all of B is 655. Questions about that?
Tish, not that one. I was trying to figure out what you did for row 7.
For which one?
Row 7. Is it row? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when I put in the formula right here, when I took that fill text and I dragged it over, it just took whatever my formula was here, which was A6 plus B6, and it extrapolated and said, okay, so if you're bringing that over, then you want B6 plus C6 next, and you want C6 plus D6 next. So it's just I was just showing you how you could drag a formula across, and it will extrapolate what you want the next formula to be.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem. So there are some functions that are built in so you don't have to do all of the, select it and then hit the plus sign and then select the next one. And this is called AutoSum. So at the bottom of your sheet or your workbook, you should have a sheet called AutoSum. And it has these numbers in it. So if I wanted to do the AutoSum, what I would do is go beneath the numbers that I want to sum up together. And then I would click on the little drop down and click sum. And it's going to say, is this the sum you want, B4 through B6? And I'm going to say yes by hitting enter. And it's going to add all of those numbers up for me. So I don't have to do equals A1 plus B1 plus C1. It does that for me automatically. If you take the fill handle and drag that across, it will sum everything in this row, okay? The other thing you can do is you can average and you can also count numbers and you can find the maximum and minimum. So I can hit max for this and it'll tell me that 755 was the maximum, or you can do minimum. And there's other options, more functions that you can put there as well. Standard deviations, you can do math and trig stuff. That's above my pay grade. I'm a sum and average kind of girl. So it's your turn. I want you to go into the third quarter and the fourth quarter and find out what those sums are for the third quarter and fourth quarter. So what's the sum for the third quarter? Okay. And what's the one for the fourth quarter? Okay. So that is how you do the auto sum. So if you're trying to figure out how many total enrolled students we have based on demographics, you can do that. You can use it for lots of different things. The other great thing you can do is find the averages of things. And so be able to find out what the average for the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter are. So the nice thing is that you say that you had the sum, but you want to find the average. If you click on that cell, you can click average, and it will now find the average for you. So I think we have a sheet called average. And if you can go into this sheet and find the average for A5 through A5, B5, C6, D7, and E8. So the best way to do that is just hit equals and then average. And you select your A5 and keep your finger on the control and click the next one, B5, C6, D7, and E8. Oh. So I can take E7 out of there by just backspacing. And then you hit enter, and there's the average for those. you want to average a column, instead you can just hit equal, or a row, I mean. You can just click to the end of that row and hit average, and it'll find the average for that row. And if you want to take and drag the fill down, then it'll find the average for all of those rows. Now, when you get an error like that, it means that there's nothing in this column and it's trying to divide by 0, and that's not going to work for it. So then I can just take that out. Questions about finding the average? Okay. So finding the count is a function that tells you which cells contain numbers. So if you look at this particular example on this slideshow here, you can see that not all of these have numbers in there. Remember that dates are numbers and times are numbers. This one has a space after it, so it's not going to read it as a number. It's going to read it as a text. And if you put zeros in front of a number, it's going to count that as text as well. But if I have it do the count function, it would count that there were 6 cells that had numbers in them. So if we go to our count sheet here, we can highlight all of this, and you hit equals, and you type in count, and you highlight whatever you're wanting to count, and you hit enter, and only 6 of those have numbers in them. So it didn't count where it said type of fruit or number of fruit or apples or cherries. It just told you that these 6 had numbers in them. We use this for like checkouts. So when we go through our sheet and we want to find out how many of them have been checked out, we can go in and highlight, and it'll tell us this many of your books have been checked out.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Could you go through that again?
Absolutely. So
Highlighted it, and then you press C6, but that's just unhighlighted.
yes, it will unhighlight it. And then you just hit equals, and then you highlight your stuff, or you type in count. I'm sorry. Type in count, and then you highlight your area and hit enter. And that time I only picked A6 through B6, so there's only 5 of them that have numbers. So there's also something called the Countif function. So this will only count it if it has a certain criteria that it meets. So if it's more than 100 or if it's less than 100. So it will only count those cells that have a number and that have the number that meets that criteria. So let's say I wanted to figure out how many of these fruits had less than 100. I would click in any of the blank cells and hit equals and do count if and double click on that. Now I'm going to select my range. So I'm just going to select the whole thing. And then you're going to put a comma after your range. And you're going to put quotation mark. And that's where you're going to put your criteria, is after you put that quotation mark. So let's say I wanted to see the ones that are less than 100. So I would put my less than sign and put 100. I put another set of quotations and a closed parentheses, and I hit enter, and it tells me that 7 of the ones that I selected, A had a number in them and B were less than 100. Does that make sense? So if you're trying to figure out how many of your books have been checked out more than 50 times or more than 100 times, then that would be a good use of the count if function. So I'm going to have you guys do the count if, only your guys are going to do greater than 100. No, you're going to do greater than 100. I'm going to switch that sign around because, so you're going to go into the count sheet, select C3, type the equals count if, write a count if to find the number of cells that contain greater than 100. How many did you get? 4 of them? Yeah. So 4 of them are greater than 100. There's one that equals 100, but because we didn't use the greater than or equal to sign, it did not count that one. Questions about how to use count if? Pretty slick. So when you've got your data, a lot of times you want to insert charts about your data or tables, things that are going to make it easier for the average person to read. So we could create a function or a formula to add up and figure out how many apples and how many cherries and how many oranges and peaches we have. Or we can click in A1 and we can do the charts the easy way. So you're going to go to the insert up here. And this is the recommended charts. Got a bar graph with a little question mark. And if you click on that, it has a pivot chart where it has added up all of the cherries, peaches, apples, and oranges for us and created a bar graph to compare them. So all you have to do is to say insert pivot chart. And now you have a beautiful chart to show the type of fruit versus the number of fruits. So it adds them all up for you. You don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. That's the great thing about the recommended chart.
So is this chart embedded into the document?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so it creates, you can see it creates another sheet down here that's called recommendation. Again, you can go in and change the name of that sheet to say, like fruit chart. And now you can show whoever it is that you need to show it to, the type of fruit. It also extrapolated this information that cherries has a noticeably higher number than the other numbers of fruits. You can change that by right-clicking and hitting Format. So if you wanted to change the chart tile to type of fruit sold, you can change it to say that. And you can see that it changes the name of your chart up there. Now let's say that you don't care if it adds it all up for you or not. You can select your information and you can go in and insert any kind of chart that you want. You can do columns, you can do bars, pies. If I did a pie chart for this, it would not look great because you can see that it didn't add everything together. So it looks like there was a lot more different fruits sold than were actually sold. So you want to make sure that you have your data formatted correctly before you put in a chart.
So why is that happening?
Because it's not a pivot chart. Because it didn't add all of that information together, we didn't ask it to by creating a pivot table. Now, if we were to go here and we were to do, we were to put apples and we were to say equals the sum, oops, helps if I spell sum, of these three right here. And then we did cherries. And we do equals the sum of these right here. And we did oranges equals the sum of these right here. And peaches and equals the sum of these right here. Then we could select this information. We can take and copy these two cells by hitting Control C and then Control V. And we can select this information right here and insert a pie chart that would be better for us to see what we're actually looking at there. We can also, if we wanted to do a column chart, we can click just clustered column. And here I'm going to show you how to change the axes. So if you right click on here, so I'm going to pull up the customized graph, and you click format, you can change the chart title. So I'm going to change it to number of fruits sold. You can change it whether you want it above it, if you want it overlaid, you can change the font or the color, all of that kind of stuff. The legend is at the bottom. I don't know that we need a legend for this one because it already says the name of each of the fruits there. In the horizontal axis, we can go in and change what the major tick marks are, the minor tick marks, but we can also give that axis a title. And we can say that the axis title is type of fruit. And if you look, it has put type of fruit at the bottom down there. When you're making charts and graphs, making sure that they have as much information as possible is important for your audience. So then on the vertical axis, it's got the minimum at 0 and the maximum at 700. If I wanted to change that, all I would have to do is go into the maximum and type in whatever number I wanted, so like 1000, and it'll change these numbers on the side here. I can change the major units to 200, and it takes away all of those lines over there. And then I can go in and give this axis a title, and you can put number sold. And it will put that axis title to the side there. Questions about formatting the charts? I know I kind of went through that fast, but this video will be available along with the PowerPoint so that if you have questions. Okay, one more cool trick I want to show you, it's not in there, is how to get rid of blanks. So let's say that you've got this beautiful data here, but you don't need these blanks in there because it's going to throw off your sorting and it just looks weird. So super cool. You just select your data and then you hit F5. Oh, why is it doing this to me? What works for me when it is. I don't know why it's doing this to me. Okay, so in the desktop app, like in the one that's on your desktop, you can hit F5. On here, you will have to have it find your blanks. How did we do that last time? Yeah, but it didn't work. Is it data? It works for me when I do it on my own computer.
Did you hit F5?
I wonder if Control F5 does it. Nope. Oh, I'm looking at that.
looking for fine.
Well- Go ahead.
The instructions here are select a range, you want to select a blank cell.
Mhm.
Click home, find and select,
Okay. Find and select.
go to.
Oh, the go-to button. There we go. And your range is your A1 through whatever your range is there. I think that goes to G40. So A1 to G40. And you can find all of the blanks and hit OK. I didn't find the blanks for me, dude.
Line step or go to special dialog box.
There's no special. That's why. There's no special.
We're seeing when you go to, we're seeing something different from what I'm.
Because you have downloaded it, right? Onto, yeah. So if you download it,
This one was.
if you download it onto the app, so I have a copy of it in here. Okay, so if you bring it up in the desktop version and you hit F5 on here, then where it says special right here, you can click and click blanks and hit OK, and it'll find the blanks in there, and then all you have to do is delete the cells, delete the entire row, hit OK, and it deletes those blank cells out of there.
I wonder if this function doesn't exist in the online one yet.
It may not exist in the online, but I thought I was doing it on the online one when we were doing
I don't know that it
some
was.
data the other day. Sorry. You know what? I was not. I was in the, so you can't do it from the desktop version, but, or you can do it from the desktop, but not from the web browser version. But we had a project we did the other day where there was like a bunch of blanks, and we needed to get rid of them. And so this is the easiest way to get rid of blanks. So you have to do it through the desktop version.
And we can publicize it if we find a way to do it online.
Yes.
So far,
I don't think there is. So what questions do you have about Excel or how to use it? Anything that you want me to go back over, or to any burning questions? Like I said, we're going to have another one of these where we go into a little more detail about different formulas that you can do, and a little bit more about pivot tables and how to create those. But we wanted to get the basics down first before we did that as well. Okay. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to unshare. And if you do have questions, you can contact Nate or myself. We're happy to help you with that as well. And if we don't know the answer, we can dang sure Google it and figure it out.
Well, with Office especially, there are some specialized resources that we can share.
Yes.
That we're also ready to search. Googling isn't, there's like the Microsoft Excel Academy or whatever.
Right, which
It doesn't
we,
always come up first. But
Yeah.
That's one of the places.
yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys for coming today.